Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan Al-Basha. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Empowered to Grow in Business podcast. This is your host, Hanan Al-Basha. And as I always say in every episode, super excited for this episode as well. I've had the privilege and the honor to meet the people that I talk to on this podcast virtually, in person, through, the different, I call it impact media channels. But this time we met through Founder Institute. And I'm so happy to welcome today Luisa Baltazar, because the topic we'll be talking about is really, really important. It's not just about it's a new fad, but how about we change perspectives into maybe this is the way we do business. Luisa, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have you.
Super excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation and for your kind words and for everything. Hopefully, and I agree with what you just said. Hopefully, this will be the way of the future.
Yes,
I believe so.
I believe so too. I hope so too. Well, Luisa, let's start with introducing you, please. Would you tell our audience more about yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I'll try to be brief. The good thing of, having done a lot of different things is that you got a full life and you got to do a lot of different things. But then when someone asks you, so tell us what you do, and you're like, oh my God, I have 50
that's
years.
Gonna take some time. Do you have time?
Anyway,
that's how I respond to people. It's like, what do you do? I'm like, do you have time? We can go on.
Do you have time?
I have all the time in the world. Please go ahead.
So we were just talking briefly on the backstage before we started. I am a mother of two kids, which I will always call kids, but are grown, adults, young adults. One 23 and another one 17. So that is a huge part of who I am and of what I do or used to do, because luckily now they're very independent and going on their way. But so I started my career a long time ago, and started really early on at 15. So I'm one of those that, self-made woman, self-made person kind of thing at 15, working and studying without family, etc., etc. So my life conditions got me to start really early. But that was really good because I got to advance in career quite early on with some struggles. And maybe because of that, that's why I'm so into social impact and helping others and finding ways of making money. Because my first business, I was 17. Oh my God, I was 17 when I had my first business, and it was selling lingerie. I shouldn't say this out loud, but it's true.
It's who you are and what you did and what you had.
I loved it. I saw an opportunity. I was working at a call center at the time, and I was 17. I needed to make extra money because at the time there was no, oh, you're an entrepreneur. There was none of that.
And no
there
digital nomads and no online
none of that. It was like, I have bills to pay. I'd like the challenge. I'm going to have a business. That was it. That's what we were doing. This was in the 90s. That's what we were doing, living, life and trying to get where we wanted to go. So that was my first one. And then a lot of things happened. I started at global strategic marketing, first human resources, then global strategic marketing in tech. From that, I went to the US when I was 30. That was amazing. So I went to help launch what is today the biggest unicorn in Portugal. And then while I was there, I did a lot of things. I had my second kid, but I also did campaign for Obama because I got really involved with the community in the United States. I ended up becoming a citizen. I did a lot of volunteering. So I did a lot of, for example, fundraising and etc. So I did a lot of society and community oriented initiatives or work, which shaped the way as a European, where we don't have that, it shaped the way as I see how people, businesses, communities, individuals can contribute to challenges that society faces or other people face. So
Yeah.
that was very interesting. That was a huge growth in terms of personal development and in terms of professional. Then I attended Berkeley University, and then somehow I ended up working in innovation. So I was working in innovation with Stanford, with Berkeley School of Business has, and then I with Verizon and all of that, and I was like, oh my God, this is Star Trek. My life is a sci-fi movie. I love this. I was
Starting with a call center and a lingerie, and I love the progression that you're talking about.
and all of that was possible. And I'm bringing all of this because this is a podcast called Empowered to Grow, right?
Thank you.
So it's
Yeah.
about how we can grow in terms of career and in terms of business and in terms of life, in terms of how we grow our skills or our vision of the world, our self-development, our connection with how everything works and where we're part of society, universe, the world, family, everything. So working in innovation was fantastic. And from that, somehow I ended up doing startup acceleration. And I was like, I don't know anything about startup acceleration. Startup, what is that?
Yeah.
So that was another learning curve. And from that, investment, VCs, all of that. And so San Francisco, this was in San Francisco, 10 years in the Bay Area, definitely shaped me in more than one way or more ways than I can talk during this podcast. Okay. So from that, for personal reasons, I decided to come back to Portugal with my kids and with my ex-husband in the meantime. So that was another growth for me, reinventing myself as a mother, as a partner, and reinventing life on my own with my children back in Portugal. And from that, I started my own company. I worked in data science, another learning curve. I worked in data science. At the time, I was super obsessed with artificial intelligence. And have in mind that this was 10 years ago, 2014. So it wasn't as we know artificial intelligence now. We know most people now know about artificial intelligence, AI, through generative AI, right? ChatGPT being the big thing. But at the time, I was diving into, business intelligence, data science, machine learning, all of that. And I was fascinated. So I found this course online by Helsinki's University. It was the only one online. It wasn't like I could move to Finland with two
Yeah.
kids, to learn about AI, but they were the only ones that, Finn people being Finnish, it's Finland. They were amazing. The university was amazing because they understood the value of making AI available to people. So, because adoption and understanding technology and understanding innovation, you need to learn about it, even if it's the basics. So they
Yes.
saw that as, for example, they actually, side fact, they have PhDs that are free of tuition if they're in social studies. So if you want to move to Finland, you can attend Helsinki's University and attend a PhD, 1 year PhD, fully immersed and a full program. And you only need to pay for expenses of moving there and staying there. Because that's how they see that they can contribute. It's by capacitating and generating more knowledge and more academic
Yeah.
knowledge in social studies. So anyway, from that course, I loved it. I was like, this is the world. And from that, at some point, a few years later, short time later, I found myself leading a global team of talents for Lab 42, the AI research lab in Davos. I had done some projects with them, so the person in charge of the project convinced me again, empowered to grow, having people that believe in us and that convince us, you are the person that I want leading this project. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I me, scientist. What do you
Yeah.
mean? I'm not a scientist. And having someone that says, and he stood for me when I had some elements of the team that were uncomfortable with having someone who's a woman, who's from a totally different background, leading such an important project. Doing the pitch to the mayor of Davos, doing the pitch to the scientific community in Davos, and all of that. And he was amazing in supporting Pascal Kaufman. He was amazing in supporting me. So
That's amazing.
having people that empower us to grow and to get out of our comfort zone, that allow us with opportunities, in my vision, it's one of the number one leverages or
Yeah.
tools or drivers for us to grow. And and then after that, I've been working for the European Commission. I've been doing a lot of things. My marketing skills and etc. evolved to communication. And when it evolved to communication, and I was always doing all of these huge projects, for example, Lab 42, it is still about how AI can help solve humanity's biggest challenges. And when
Hmm.
you have that, you start to understand, to understand politics, economics, blah 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 blah, how the pieces of the
Yeah.
puzzle fit. And startups and innovation and technology and investment and policy making and all of that, and society and purpose and leadership. So when you
Yes.
start joining all these pieces of the puzzle, and you have a background of dedicating yourself to nonprofits, to doing good to society, the end result is you end up doing business and impact. That's it. Because you join at some point, it was just life got me to join both. So a year and a half ago, no, a little bit more than a year, I launched Her Venture Hub, and a social enterprise that it's women centric. So
Yeah.
if I have 5 minutes of time to spare, I will dedicate them to a social project that is women related. But of course, we do advising, we do a lot of things, and we are working with European Commission on policy making for social economy. And we help companies understanding not only how to get prepared for ESG regulation, but
Yep.
also how they can look at their business as usual and turn it into new services, product, into lining it up with social impact or requirements or purpose, and that's what we do. It's challenging. Impact isn't one size fits all.
Yes.
It
That's true.
always needs personalization, because you need to understand the audience, you need to understand the geography, the context, the social context, but the potential is huge. And now with technology and with AI, there were a lot of things that we couldn't do before in impact, because it was very difficult to measure. One of the
Yeah.
problems, which has been the problem for measuring impact, is the fact that it's not tangible, right?
Yeah.
How do you measure growth on your audience? You do this podcast, right? And we're doing this
Yeah.
conversation. We can measure how many people watched it. We can measure how many people liked it, dropped comments. By the way,
But how can
everyone,
you
please
measure the impact
drop a
itself?
comment and
Yeah.
and
Speaking
share.
of comments, Maria, hi. Thank you for joining us. She's joining from
So
Portugal as well.
please
Actually,
drop
Lisbon.
So
So yeah.
do all of
But
that, but it's difficult to measure. Just to finish up, it's difficult to measure, and AI and technology nowadays makes it possible, makes it really really possible. So the same way as the ones that saw in green economy the opportunity, and in data related to energy transition, to optimization of whatever, related to green economy. Now it's the same, with social economy. You have the potential to measure data, to understand the dynamics in society and in geographies and, minorities, et cetera, or underserved communities, and just find services that provide what people need and have a business model behind it. That's it. Easy.
Yeah,
Easy.
actually you ended it with what I was going to ask you, because when people hear social economy, it gets a bit confusing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of different perceptions of it.
Yeah.
So some people would perceive it as, oh, it's charity or a
Yeah.
non-governmental organization, or oh, it's related to recycling and renewable energy and the climate and all of
Yeah.
this, or it is just about doing good. But not a lot of people understand that, or can see the details
Mm-hmm.
that go behind what would comprise a business that contributes to the social economy. So let's dig a little deeper in that. You ended it just saying now that it's about finding what people need as a service and creating a business to do it. But I know there's a lot more that we can dive into.
Oh yeah. So you're super right. It's about what it's not, rather
Yeah,
than it is about what it is.
that's a nice way to
So
see it.
So, for example, if you do a search on Wikipedia about social economy, it will bring you by default, usually it brings you the definition, the political definition.
Mm,
Okay. It will bring
okay.
you have capitalism, etc., and it will bring you a political definition. But when we mention social impact and social economy, we're not talking about the political ideology of social economy. That is
Mm,
not what we're talking about. The
yeah,
same way we would be talking about green economy or blue
yeah,
economy, which is related to the ocean, to water, to et cetera, or green economy to renewable energies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the same. Social economy. So social economy is about social impact. And impact, if you think it's anything that has impact in society. So if you have a technology that has a positive impact, it's something that you should pursue. If it has a negative impact, that's why we have all the measures that we have. It's to
mm,
prevent businesses to have negative impact in society. So to
yes,
prevent businesses to have negative social impact. So it's not political. Then other people think it's charity. It is not charity. Charity and philanthropy are parts of social economy, but it's
yeah,
not the definition of social economy, right?
yeah,
Because think of a social economy as a big umbrella, and then you can put everything. You can put social innovation, that it's the funnel that helps us develop solutions, social solutions for social challenges. So it is the same as a business. The only difference is that you have the social word behind it, because
mm,
it's focused on society. It's not focused on the profit. It's not focused on the product. It's focused on the outcome that that business, that product, that service, that technology will have in society. And then the last caveat, or the last that I would like to bring out, it's most people think that social economy is not scalable, and it
yeah,
is totally scalable.
yeah,
And even nowadays, with, as I was saying, with AI, it's even more and more easy to scale a social economy or a social solution. And I can give you a couple of ideas. For example, microfinance, right?
yeah,
When microfinancing was created, there was a lot of it that was still done, not manually, of course, but in a very labor, very, and with skewed decisions and whatever, right? Because of the amount of data. At this moment with AI, you can scale microfinancing for people in need at a scale that
yeah.
it's incomparable as it was before, right?
And
Because there's a
we're
lot
seeing a
of
lot of these solutions as well being actually developed and implemented and utilized right now in Africa, where it's a huge
exactly.
space. for microfinance.
Exactly. For microfinancing, you have it in India. You have in a lot of. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, it's Brazil. I know it's Saudi Arabia. I know it's Brazil, Pakistan. There's another one, Indonesia, that
Yeah,
are the top countries identified by World WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization, that their report that just came out at the end of 2024, it's all about social enterprise. Because
yeah,
WIPO, them being the ones that are on the verge of intellectual property, registrations, trademarks,
yeah,
etc., etc., etc.,
yeah.
patents, and etc. They are very good barometer for us to understand where innovation is taking us. Because if they see a lot of patents and a lot of registrations in health or in climate or whatever, and their last report at the end of 2024, it was all about social enterprise and how social enterprise at this moment is the path towards a future, to an economical future. And they highlighted a couple of countries, and Brazil, Indonesia, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia were the
I love
ones
that.
that are totally leading in terms of using technology towards social impact. And
You know what?
microfinancing, yes?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, no.
Just to share a thought. So I did this kind of short certification about social entrepreneurship. I did it
Mhm.
with George Washington University, and I remember when I was learning about the concept. So we know entrepreneurship, but it was like different to have it as social entrepreneurship. And immediately, what came to my mind is like, okay, again, what we were talking about, those definitions that are preset in our minds. And as we were digging, which is very like
Mhm.
it is about social impact and all of this, and the thought that came to me was, this is entrepreneurship with a conscience. It's
Mm,
the one that
I
that's
love
the way
it.
I perceived it. So when I did a newsletter about it, I'm like, social entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship with a conscience. Not I'm not saying that everyone who's doing every other type
No.
of business is not, but this is the one that looks at the impact, the social impact and the community impact of what you are developing. It is not just, you're not doing it just because you are looking at, the strategy, the business model, and the profit that you're going to make. You're looking at how will this change people's lives, communities' lives, and the whole
Yeah.
infrastructure beneath it. And this is exactly what you're
And
addressing
there's
here.
a and there's a difference. I'll even add more to it. The other day I was at this event with some investors and etc. And they're like, and they're investing. They're from Brussels and they're investing in social impact, etc., etc. But they're investing in the traditional model, right? And I was like, yeah. So if you're investing in the traditional model, you're not investing in social impact. You're investing in startups
Yeah.
that actually contribute to social impact one way or another. But you are
Mm.
not investing in social entrepreneurs, because
Mm.
social entrepreneurs, we do not go to you. For example, when I launched the Her Venture Hub, we the intention, the dream, and the intention, and we're doing it with a partner in Sweden. We're developing a LLM a platform that will be our major delivery in terms of tech. Is a platform that helps women. And when I was pitching last year, I was pitching at the European Commission. We actually got awarded as innovative
Yeah.
initiative,
Amazing.
social initiative in
Congratulations.
Europe. Yes, that was very stressful because like, but it's still an idea. I just launched it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
There's
still a
still,
vision.
you'll
It's
still make
still a
money,
vision.
but
Like it's still a vision. I still need to make it happen.
yeah,
But okay, but we won. And and PricewaterhouseCoopers, it's them and a couple of other partners. And we had a partner from one of PwC partners from the UK, and it was like, oh, super interesting. And he's in charge of up to Series A investments. And he was like, oh, very interesting. I really want to invest. And I was like, yeah, but again, to the mic, and I was like, yeah, but again, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm bootstrapping. Why
yeah,
aren't you this? Super interesting. Yeah, I'll say again, I'm not a startup. I'm a social entrepreneur. And it took him a little bit, and it was like, oh, okay. No, I got it. Yes,
yeah,
because if a social entrepreneur would see their solution, even if it's a tech-based solution, that would be an amazing unicorn. If we see it as a traditional, startup or a traditional enterprise, we see it for profit. We take money from investors and then we're making decisions towards capitalizing and towards making profit in 2 years, regardless of impact. And most of the times,
Mm.
impact is very hard to measure in 2 years if we're talking about social impact. It needs to be for a vision of 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 years. One of the best conversations I had in my life was with Philippe, the mayor of Davos. We were having dinner while I was doing the project. I would have very good conversations with him now and then. And he's very young. He was 34 at the time, 36, 37 now. And the numbers for this was post-COVID 2022.
Yes.
So the numbers for the analysis for the impact of COVID in unemployment, et cetera, had just come out. And again, we women got super affected about it
That's true.
because we were the ones who stayed with the kids, we were the ones who stayed with relatives and taking care of elderly people. When we went back to the market because the pandemic was over, etc., recession brought the salaries down and etc. So we were, and I asked him, how does Davos, the city that already has everything and etc., so how are you tackling this? And he was like, no, well, I just had to think big and long term, and which is not a politician conversation, right? This is not the speech of a politician, right? Because
Yeah.
most of them, they only think up to the end of their mandate or when they're
Yeah.
going to have elections. And he created childcare for everyone, regardless
Wow.
of
Mm.
there's no. It's you have a child, you're entitled to childcare, and this allows fathers to be with time because they don't have to take care of the kids, mothers, grandparents, everyone. And it's very easy for the city to calculate
Mm.
how many children they're going to have, because
Yeah.
once you're pregnant you get into the medical system, and once you get into the medical system, he can know 1 year in advance how many children he's going to have and how many spots
People he will
available
need.
he
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah.
have, right? Which,
Yeah.
when it's selection due to economical conditions or eligibility, you sometimes it's very hard to assess ahead of time if you're going to have a recession or not, if you're going to have a pandemic or not. So, and the ripple effects are, I mean, immense. But what changed was how we looked at the problem. The fact it helped that they have the funds, of course, but it
Yeah.
was
Of course.
looking at the problem from a perspective, a long-term perspective, and then fitting the pieces of the puzzle. Okay, how are we going to do with the schools that we already have, because we don't want to compete with the private sector who's already providing that service to our citizens. How do we do all of this? So if you look at a social enterprise, not a startup, a social solution, not a technology. It can be a technological one, but not driven for that. You're looking at long-term impact. And that is not compatible with the capitalist or with the VC mindset that we have in investment and that we have in technology at this moment. So it's not about creating, it's about looking at the strategy on the long term, looking at the strategy of looking for funding and looking for investment. It's about how the pieces of the puzzle are going to fit. Oh, I'm going to do an analogy. Instead of doing a puzzle which is horizontal,
Yeah.
it's more like a lot of money in short time. It's
Yeah.
a puzzle that's vertical, that it's doing the same amount of money, but in a timeline, in a strategy that stretches over time, that allows for, and this is not compatible with most investors
Yeah,
because
but let me stop you there because this is really, really important. Again, because you come from both, you've been engrossed in the entrepreneurship ecosystem as an entrepreneur yourself and as a mentor in the investment landscape and everything else. A lot of the startups that come through Founder Institute or any of the other programs that we mentor at that are looking to create a social entrepreneurship concept, their biggest challenge is to get investment to be able to bring this to life. Because, as you said, the impact is very difficult to measure. The profits, you're not really looking for the profits, so the profit margins are minimal. You're not trying to get to the unicorn status. You're trying to get to the, okay, we're sustaining, we're making some profit, but the whole point is about the impact that we are creating. How do you maneuver that? Because you were in a position that you're able to stand on a stage and say, thank you, I don't want your money right now, I'm bootstrapping, because I know the impact, I have the vision, and I'm going to get enough money to make it happen. But sometimes to be even able, that the splatter perspective, to be even able to create the minimum of impact, you have to do a lot more just to get to this point.
I have answers for you. So, by the way, even Paddy Cosgrove at the Web Summit in Lisbon, not the one in Qatar that just happened, but the one in Lisbon, he was actually just saying exactly the same thing. He was noticing a huge number of social entrepreneurs and they were looking, and I'm in contact with them for many, many reasons, because we've been doing things together with the team in Lisbon. Web Summit has been happening in Lisbon for more than 10 years now. And they're looking into how to bring this part of the entrepreneurs into an event and into a structure that is very oriented. Oh, you get the deal, and in 2 years you're a unicorn. This is not compatible, so we need to shift. So I'll give you some examples. For example, and we have these challenges at Founder Institute. I'm also with Dubai Chambers with apps, the apps Olympics. I provide mentorship for Santander Explorer Entrepreneurial. I'm a teacher at the Faculty of Science and Technology, entrepreneurship teacher. So I get this, and I'm a business expert for the European Innovation Council, startups in European Commission. So when I say this applies to the startups at the European Commission getting 17.5 million, and it applies to my students at university and everything else in the between, including Founder Institute, of course. So one thing, startups. It's all about business model canvas, financial plan. No one talks with a startup about theory of change. That's for the nonprofits, right? And you just need to do.
I mean, with Founder Institute, we do have that, the impact part, because we want them to be in alignment with the UN SDGs. So there is some.
We do the same at university. We do the same at university, but it's us, because we're teaching. That doesn't mean that the investors are looking. And if you bring a startup that starts, so our theory of change, it's this one. And by the way, then we have this, they're going to be, what? No, I don't care about that slide. Move on to the other slide. So we need everyone, right? So there's a canvas, which is, Green Swans and the generative business model canvas, which is amazing. And you look at the business and you turn that business into social impact and you revert. But that means that you need to create the service or the product, you need to measure it, and then you need to bring that measure into a loop, into a circular loop. You are right, it is very hard to measure, but it's getting easier and easier if you invest AI into it.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if you have an idea of developing skills in underserved communities, if you use that through a digital platform, etc., and you develop the platform measuring from day one, you can convert it. You then need metrics, either because you get, tax breaks or whatever from to investors through the government or through other loops. You can have investment funds. There's different models. They're not well defined yet. Part of the work that I was just in Rome 2 weeks ago with the European Commission and a couple more social entrepreneurs and social enterprises and PricewaterhouseCoopers as well, et cetera, et cetera. And we were for 2 days in Rome working, kind of a think tank, focus group mix thing, how to create conditions in Europe for social entrepreneurs and social enterprises. For example, having a model of social enterprise legal framework where we can run business and we can take donations. Automatically, I can have sponsors, I can have donations, I can have someone decide, hey, these guys are doing amazing work. We want to sponsor them. We want to
now
contribute.
it's an either or. It's either you're an LLC.
It's either or. It's like you have,
yes.
Nonprofit, and there's, if you see it as a kind of how do you say?
Spectrum.
A spectrum. Thank you. If you see it as a spectrum, social enterprise is here in the middle. And legal frameworks and regulation and, and even, accounting economically, we should be able to go a little bit here and a little bit there, right? And now you're either one or the other. And that immediately, because of the concept, social impact and social economy is, nonprofits, is being poor, is not having money, and so all of that. And we have kids, we have bills to pay, we want a better world, but we also have dreams of having a comfortable life, of not being worried if we have health insurance or not, if we have, the salary.
To be able to increase your impact as well, to reach more people, to have more resources. Yeah.
So we should, it's not perfect yet. So, but you were saying okay, we all need money. How do we get to do it? So there's a lot of ways. For example, one of the things that I've been working, or the private sector that I've been working with in Romania, and if everything goes well with Saudi Arabia as well, and even with Spain, will be with banks. Banking industry is an amazing opportunity. This is an amazing opportunity for banks until investors decide to really find a way to support, causes and
actually,
to invest.
From my humble perspective, I think investors are a lot easier to persuade than banks.
Well, but banks, this is an opportunity for them because we need money. And sometimes we don't need a lot of money at the beginning. We need enough for operations. We need, and because we're bootstrapping, we're not a traditional startup, right?
Yeah.
So, and because of that, most of the times we need the money to keep things going until we define our measurement, until we get our, everything that you need to do, until we define the services that are, or the product that we're going to sell that is going to bootstrap the whole thing, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, we just need money. And that money doesn't have to be the unicorn money, because we are doing things in different ways. We can apply for funds, government funds to do the development, the tech development. We can get into partnerships. So there's different ways. Yeah. But sometimes we just need money, running a business kind of money, cash flow. Yeah. And banks are perfect for that, because if it's not a long-term thing, it's a loan. We will pay it back. Actually, the risk in investment, it's way higher than the risk in banking. It's when you do a loan, because you have an insurance, you have all of these things. But because there's this stigma that, startups, and things are either go fast or die early, there's this high risk. Well, social entrepreneurs, it's not about risk. No, none.
But banks are dependent on, getting a bank loan, especially for a business, a small business. The traditional banking system wants you to have that solid business plan, wants you to have collateral, wants you to either have your own savings or something against the money that you will take.
They just need to change those
Yeah,
criteria.
that's why I'm
That's
saying
it.
I love that you're changing this very rigid
I have a
structure.
bank. I have a bank that I'm huge fan of, Banca
Okay.
Comercială Romani in Romania. And we just, the last meeting we had, and the CEO of the BCR Finance and Leasing was in the meeting, of course, and it was super surprised. And I'm still working with them, and I'm going to continue working with them on that. But they're already, for example, in their case, they're already measuring the impact that they have doing business as usual. So if they loan money, and it's a matter of looking at the business model or looking at the
Your
projections or
personal, even
whatever,
the owners or the applicant's personal track record, that too comes into
whatever, right? Come on. I work for the European Commission and so on. So when I'm 50 years old, a bank should be able to look at that and say, yeah.
It should.
She will make it happen.
You're good.
You're
You're
good.
good.
Right? So, but they don't, because there's no, that box is not in the system.
That's true.
So, but they found a way, because Romania, after they got into a democracy, to become a democracy, they had to do a lot of social impact, and they're very prone to it. Very, very good. They're renovating the country. They're reinventing themselves. So they're very big in fintech startups and etc. So because of that, the bank was very focused on having a social purpose and helping the country grow. They understood immediately that they needed a healthy country with businesses, with people, with economical growth, if they wanted to stay in business. Because a bank makes money by loaning money and borrowing money and giving money and receiving money and shuffling money. If there's no money around, there's no banking. It's like Monopoly, right? You need money around. So because of that, they started from start kind of getting leasing and loaning money to initiatives, and they have amazing projects. They have a whole area of the bank that it's dedicated to that, identifying projects, helping those projects grow, providing them with infrastructure, providing them with community, providing them with skills, because they also give skills, because a social entrepreneur that learns and has skills, right, does a better job. If there's a better job, gets more money, better. Yeah. And they started measuring it. And because they started measuring it, they already have a huge footprint to provide in their ESG reporting, into their mandatory reporting, just by doing business. And the thing is, instead of loaning money to these people, we're loaning money also to these people. So it's kind of, so sometimes it's you don't have to change the banking industry as a whole. You need to allocate funds, or you need to allocate, it's kind of, if you consider a social financing lab and etc., you have that with microfinancing, and sometimes it's not a lot of huge amounts of money. Sometimes it's small services, small medium enterprises. It doesn't have to be we need 8 million euros to develop an AI. No, probably that will be a startup and maybe not social impact. But if it's a social impact, it can do the same thing. For example, in my case, we're going to apply for, not now in March, that already happened, but in October, if everything goes well, in October, applying for European funds to have the development of our MVP.
Yeah.
So, but in order to get the traction, the awards, in order to get to that funding by government, I need some leverage. I need money, I need clients, I need, and this is doable. And we're not talking about a high risk. You can look at social entrepreneurs that have a passion for what they do. I will not give up. I would give up more easily of another business idea, let's make tables or whatever, or keychains or
do it on
earrings.
the side. You could finance this.
Yeah, I
There's
can,
nothing wrong
but
with
I
that
would
too.
more willingly give up on one of those,
Yeah,
or or do less work or whatever, if that was the case, than I will for one that I'm pouring my purpose, my soul. Most social entrepreneurs have a reason for doing what they do.
their why is very, very important. Speaking
And
of
that's
why,
very important.
yes. Um, you mentioned as well one of the success factors, let's call it success factors, the supporting pillars of having a
Mhm.
successful social economy driven venture is partnerships. And we know that a lot of the partnerships, some of them that could be very successful could be with corporates. Okay, corporates usually either have their own thing, and again,
Mhm.
corporates are, the big organizations that are also all about profit and shareholders and all of this, but they have this arm of CSR, the corporate social
Yeah.
responsibility, and this is more like towards the charity. How does a social entrepreneur position themselves to approach corporates and to actually let them
Mhm.
or kind of, I want to say, highlight the business opportunity in creating this social impact rather than just become another item on their, oh, we'll give you some of our CSR money and then go and do your thing.
That has been my struggle.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will write a full book and manual at the end.
Yeah.
No, that has been my struggle, because they don't see it as a priority. You have no idea the amount of proposals that I have out.
I can imagine.
My pipeline, as a pipeline, it's very
I have a
nice.
whole folder of proposals.
I have proposals, but somehow it's not a priority. And I'm like, but I'm not talking about CSR. I'm talking about business. Like, I'm talking about business.
Yeah.
I'm talking about teaching you how to do this as a business. Like, but they don't see it as a business yet. So mindset and perspective is the challenge. I'm not saying that it's easy to look at a business that it's all structured and, oh, let's do it in a different way and let's do it in a social impact way, or it's not. Uh, uh, a ball that is already in movement, it's very hard to change the ball or to change the path. You
Hmm.
need to make small changes and move it. It's like, I love doing analogies with life and with
Yeah.
relationships, because
Yeah.
people tend to think that love and relationships, friendship, love includes everything, right?
That's true.
Love partners, but friends and family, and etc. And people tend to think that love and business are not the same. Yes, they are. Try
True.
doing a partnership with someone you don't agree with, or that your values
I
or
believe
your
in
habits.
chemistry and work. Yes. If you don't have chemistry,
Right?
it's just not working.
They're the same.
Yeah.
So, the same way as a friend of yours who's having struggles in her or his relationship will need your outside viewpoint
Yeah.
to highlight, hey, yes, but the other day you told me that happened. See,
Yeah.
it's not aligned with what you need or what you're having, or etc. It's the same way with business. People that have been doing businesses in the same way, most of them managers, amazing managers, and very, very efficient managers, because they're efficient. And we're talking about corporations that are doing well. And because they're doing well, they have profits. And because they have profits, they have margin to reinvent part of their business or part of their services or part of their product, right? Or to enter new areas or etc.
Yeah.
But because of that, so they're doing well. A person who's doing well has a small tendency to change what they're doing,
That's true.
because it
If it's
has to
not
do with
broken, right? Fix
how it has to do with how we perceived our value, right? If we're doing well, we're making money, our department is getting great results, we had a huge profit last year, the shareholders are totally happy, stakeholders are also happy, everyone is happy. Why would I change what I'm doing? Why,
Yeah.
and they're focused on the present. And the
Mm-hmm.
first step is making them be focused on the future, the changes that are coming, and some of the changes that are already happening, right? Because I've been doing this conversation about social impact and etc. for more than 2 years, when AI was happening, and now generative AI, it's changing everyone's lives. It's
Yeah.
bringing unemployment. It's bringing a lot of, you know, feelings of insecurity, of fear, of, tiredness. And people already just, some of us, we still feel that, oh, I just came out of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We're so drawn by the pandemic because people lost their jobs or lost
Yeah.
their
It was a traumatic
businesses.
experience,
It was
global
a
experience.
traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, what do you mean it's a new recession and it's a new industry? And now I need to learn about this AI thing, and there's robots, and everyone's saying that the world is going to end. So there's all of these things that are going to happen. There's no way to avoid it. It's already happening. But when we're doing well in business or in life or in a marriage and different, we tend to want to stay in the present. As a leader and as a manager, it is your responsibility to find inside of you, the energy, the focus, the resilience, whatever, to get out of that comfort zone and think, okay, it will be hard in 5 years or in 2 years or in a year. What do I need to do now that I'm safe, that the business is doing well, that et cetera, et cetera. The same way if it's a business who's struggling. So a business who's struggling tends to think about, oh, maybe if I do more marketing, maybe if I reinforce with this, maybe if I reinforce with that, because we don't want to lose. We want to prove that what we were doing was the right thing. All of this has to do with ego, which has to do with how we survive as a species. If we were depressed and doubting all of our steps and everything that we do, we wouldn't get out of bed, and it would be horrible for humanity. So we tend to linger, to try to make it happen and make it a success. It's very hard for even, this, one of the things that we teach at Founder Institute is that you need to have an exit plan.
Yeah.
You almost need to think, okay, when am I going to toss the towel to the
Yeah.
ground, right?
Yeah.
And it's very hard. And we teach this
And the exit plan is applicable both when you're succeeding and when you're not.
No. Yeah. Here I'm talking about because they only think, oh, yeah, the exit plan when I sell the
Yeah.
company. No,
When
what about the exit plan when
I
you're
love
in
that.
debt out?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to pull you out of that, or you need to concede defeat. So when a business is in that situation, the tendency for the owner or for the founder or whatever is to stay in that path, to get through the muck. And so they have a hard time to get the viewpoint and macro and drone viewpoint or helicopter viewpoint of what if instead of doing this, you do this other thing. I'll give you an example. In Portugal, our electrical company, the energy company of Portugal, at some point they were selling energy. Have in mind, they were selling energy, but then they started having competition. So they saw the possibility of extending to other markets. So at this moment, they have health services, they have house repair services, they have all of these other, I lost track of the amount of services that they created, because let's face it, they had access to all the Portuguese in Portugal. They had their number, their telephone number, their email. They knew how many people were living in a house, because you kind of know by usage.
Consumption. Yeah.
They could be, they knew the age, because if it's a contract under the same name and the person is 80 years old, Maybe that person needs, a care, a taker to as a service. So this was, to me, was genius. I love it. I'm a huge fan of how EDP Innovation, how they created an area, department of innovation to think outside of the box. Do you think they did it with the people that were working energy and selling energy for 30 years? Of course
No.
not.
They
That's
needed
why
fresh eyes, a
innovation.
fresh perspective.
No, exactly. Imagine open innovation being done by people. It cannot be done by people that are working for too long. So open innovation and the breakthrough moment needs to be with, partners, with experts, with whoever. Implementation needs to be done with the people that are working there for 30 years. They're the
That's right.
ones, we're going to be the ones that are, oh, we can do this. They're the
Yeah.
ones who are going to curb our enthusiasm, who
Yes.
have the know-how,
Yeah.
who are going
And
to
who's going to tell you
say,
about the systems limitations and stuff, and then you could see
exactly.
how you could resolve that. Yeah.
Exactly. So you need both, but that spark of creativity, of innovation, it's as a human being, it's very difficult for us to do. If you're having success, it's very hard for you to look outside of your box of success. And if you're having insuccess, it's very hard for you to look outside of the box of despair and, of fear and etc. So you always need, you need partnerships. That's why you brought partnerships. You need experts that do this for a living, that, that it's easy. Cross-pollination, it's one of the things that it's taught at IDO. And Jonathan Lichtman, a good friend of mine, he was one of the authors of 10 Faces of Innovation, and etc. And one of the things that he teaches and is cross-pollination, how you look into what one industry is doing, what one market is doing, and how you can apply it to a different market, and into the same way as bees pollinate,
Yeah.
So you need people that are used to seeing solutions at many levels and in
Exactly.
many industries. You can never do it. We have a saying in Portuguese that maybe there will be a translation. In a house of a horse shoemaker, of an Iron Man, shoemaker,
Yeah.
horse shoemaker, all pegs are made of wood, which means that if you work iron, you have a tendency to use wood in your house, which is a lack. You should be using your own, your own knowledge, etc.
Creation. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
creations, but it's very, very hard, because we get into the point of, no, this is what I do. It is working. It's an ongoing business. There's no need to change it.
Well, yeah,
So
disruption is the name of the game now. I know we could be talking for hours because it's
I
already
don't know
more
what
than
time is it.
but I want to ask you the last question, and this is related to where we started and where, as you were talking about, what's coming next,
Yeah.
ESG and the
Mhm.
compliance of ESG that is becoming now something around the world that is growing. Let's talk a little bit about it, and more specifically, the opportunities for social entrepreneurs within this space to be able to bring their visions to the world.
So yes, ESG is happening. It's, of course, EU is doing what European Union is doing, what European Union does best, which is regulate, 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 regulate. But okay, fine. I'm trying to convince them to have a social lab, so kind of an experimental social initiative. Let's see how that goes. But so ESG is coming, right? And the E part of it was really easy to develop, in the sense that environmental sector, or environment related, and climate change or energy and all of it related
That's
sector,
the E of the
um,
ESGs. Yes.
the E of the ESG, which ESG is environment, social, and governance, right?
Yes.
So the E was very easy, because the uh, industry, the sector, just boomed by itself. Oh,
Mhm.
renewable energies. We need solar panels. We need eolics. We need this. We need that. We need data. We need this. So it happened by itself, like the market happened. And when the market happened, there was a lot of money. And if there's a lot of money, there's a lot of data, etc., etc. The G happened because it's mandatory. There's no way around it. So there was a lot of, third-party services and a lot of, services providers and et cetera, that came with it. And even, and technology, software as a service for dashboards, for measuring, for transparency, for, processes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it happened because it had to happen.
They
The
address
only
the governance
one,
part. Yeah.
it's the governance part. It had to
Yeah.
happen, so it happened.
Yeah.
So this was driven by money, and this was driven by laws and by rules and by policy making. The only one that was left unattended was the
Just the
yes,
social. Yes.
was
Yes.
the social. Because most companies do, as you said, and very well, CSR. But CSR in most companies, and I'm going to be mean, if there's,
That's on you.
a
That's on
corporate,
you.
if there's corporate people listening to this, ugh, they're going to get, CSR is like, oh, we allow our employees to do volunteering and we give them Saturday morning and we gave some money and that's it. They didn't measure, they didn't do anything, they check that box and they say, no, we have a couple of
Sponsor a couple of
programs
campaigns a year and we're doing good.
and we're doing good.
Yeah.
But that is not the intention. And I would say that social entrepreneurs need to dive, although the framework for reporting ESG is being developed by the European Union, it's not fully developed yet. It's still a work in progress. There's already a draft. That's where I'm basing all the services that we do or all the strategies that we apply into that. That's what I do. I base it on what will be mandatory starting January 2028. Even if it gets delayed, even if European Union decides to delay it, I will look into that. I will look into sustainable development goals. I will look into ISOs, what ISOs are there, what they're mandatory, what they're pointing at, and I start by creating services, products, solutions, data, whatever that one way or another is aligned with that. Is where I start. It's kind of, if you look at the company, whatever the company is doing, whatever sector the company is doing, and you look at what will need to be reported, what ISOs, international standards, that they need to have, what they already have, and how to connect all those dots. And we start by there. We start by also looking at the CSR that they have been doing, because usually there's a lot of potential there, because most of the CSR initiatives are in reality started by employees. So you get an understanding of what the people in the organization actually care about.
Yeah.
So when you connect the dots, but it's very, CSR most of the times are either connected to human resources and I know because that was my field, so I know what I'm talking about, right? And I was a communications CCO, Chief Communications Officer for a couple of companies, so I know. Or it's either human resources or marketing, internal communications, marketing, talent retention, all of that. And these teams, they don't do policy making, they don't do business development, they do human development, and they should continue because that's what they do best. And once the framework is created for the companies, once the process, the vision, the purpose is there, then they will implement it, and they will implement it really, really well because they've been doing it. So they connect the rest of the parts of the pieces of the puzzle. But so I would say social entrepreneurs need to start by looking at what will mandate it, will be mandated starting January 28, for example, for Europe. But if we're talking about Saudi Arabia, You start by looking at Saudi vision. You start by
Yeah,
looking at the
just want to say
vision of
that
the
also
rulers of Saudi Arabia. That is the vision that they want. That's where you should be looking at. If you're talking about the Emirates, you look at Dubai, you look at Sharjah, and you look at Abu Dhabi, and you look at the other Emirates, and you look individually.
you look
You
at the
look at
2030 vision, you look at the 2050 vision, you look at the pillars and what
you
they're
look at the
working towards.
pillars, you do your homework, you do your research. And of course this it's easier for me to say because that's what I've been doing. So it's
Yeah,
easier for some people if it's a tech company. All of a sudden it is, but now I need to look at the vision and so and this is what makes it sometimes hard for people to embrace. It's because they need to embrace an area that was out of their radar. While if you're in tech or you're from manufacturing, you know the environmental, it's been in your radar for a long time, because you saw it happen, you saw that it brought money to a lot of people. Ooh, there's a possibility of business there. I need to look into that. Social is has always been perceived as a responsibility, not as an opportunity. But in fact, it's a
yeah,
$2 trillion industry. It's
yeah.
twice the revenue of advertising industry. And we're talking about advertising industry. It's twice value. It has 100 million people working for it. It has 30 million social enterprises. So it's a huge thing. But because it's almost invisible because it hasn't been put under an umbrella, which is, for example, what European Union and European Commission is doing at this time. They're reorganizing many of their programs, and I was in Brussels last week. I came actually to Barcelona almost directly from Brussels, and they're shifting programs, money. Now there was a huge shift for defense and etc. because of the world situation with United States and etc. So things are changing, but and I was with the general director for the ASMEA, which is the area that has social impact and social economy under their scope.
Yeah.
And they're still investing in social innovation more than ever, because if we get in a recession, if we get more unemployment, if we do indeed continue in a tariff war with Canada and the United States, with Europe and with Canada and this and that. And as we know, that affects economy all over the world, because
That's
that
true.
affects the markets, the stock market, and
Yeah.
that's affect the fluency of money, and that affects everything. So because of that, this is an opportunity for social entrepreneurs to look at the potential that's out there that already exists. It already exists. The economy already exists. It just needs to be perceived, addressed, and handled, managed
Yeah,
in a
that's true.
professional, business oriented way. That's it. So
That's true.
easy.
It's very easy. You've just laid it
Very
out.
easy.
Let's see how we apply it. Louisa, thank you so much for such an enriching conversation.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
know that, I know I can tap into your knowledge base and we can be going on for a few hours
Oh my God.
about so many other things. I usually wrap up with a question to my guest
Okay.
asking, you already answered that, but I'm going to give you another opportunity to answer
Okay.
the question. The show is called Empowered to Grow. How does
Okay.
this phrase resonate with you personally?
So, what if I say that at Her Venture Hub, we have all this program that helps women grow? And so, me and you, we're going to continue way
Yes,
beyond
we
this
know that.
podcast working
We know
together.
that.
We know that already. So, actually, Her Venture Hub, we foster paths for growth. That's what we do. I'm a strong believer. You know, People address skill development, leadership, and I'm an expert in leadership. I've been, teaching leadership for a long time and learned at London School of Economics and all of those. And there's always kind of an approach that is, you're this or you're that, or you're here and you need to be this. And I believe we're a work in progress. For example, at her venture hub, when we measure and we're working with 15 PhDs and postdoctoral researchers and etc. From Karolinska Institute in Sweden, and we're talking about amazing women at amazing scientific levels, studying at the best. Karolinska Institute, they're the ones who choose the Nobel Prizes for medicine. It's amazing the work that these ladies are doing, that these women are doing. And when we started the growth program with them, which is a coaching and a program that they develop either professionally, either personally, or with their community, their life, their relationships, or their purpose in life. So we have that 4 areas. And it's all about where they are. They're never starting from zero. None of us are starting from zero. That's why I love the concept of growth. Because you need to change. No, you do not. You need to grow into what you need to be or you want to be. Sometimes you're starting lower, and that's fine. And let's take it step by step. Take you there. Sometimes you're starting from here and you're growing. The concept of growth, it's a concept that starts from where you are in life, where you are in career, where you are in a business. It does not have to do with where others are, where society tells you need to be,
or where you were,
or where you would.
Yeah.
I was at the top of my career. I've been at the top of my career a couple of times. And then I stopped because I wanted to stay home with my 2 kids, with both of my kids. I stopped for 2 years and I stayed. I don't have family. I don't have parents. So I wanted to be really a present mother and parent for my kids. And then I had to start again, and I grew again. And then, so when you embrace this, when you embrace a growth mindset, the sky is the limit, or not even the sky is the limit, right? Because it doesn't matter where you are. You can always grow more. You can always grow more. You can always grow more. So empowered to grow, it goes over the people that help us, the business opportunities that we get, the learnings that we get, but also the investment of belief. That is something that I've been learning, is that people that invest their belief in us, I don't know, this might be just topic for another conversation.
Yeah, but
investing hope.
Yeah.
When you have someone, when you find someone that
Just
tells
saying,
you,
I believe in you.
I believe in you. What do you need me to do to help you? I believe in you. Let's make it happen. And sometimes it comes from, I had a friend actually do that for me today. So sometimes it comes from a friend, sometimes it comes from a previous business partner, it comes from a new business partner, it comes from a new client. People that really say, I believe in you. I'm going to invest my energy, my hope, my belief, my energy in you. But then it needs to open doors, or to provide us with time and advice, or hire us, or whatever, right? It needs to be tangible. It cannot be just words. But so, growth.
Love it.
It's the best.
And this brings us to the perfect kind of slogan that I use for Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I say, empowered you empowers others, because that is exactly that space that you come from.
Exactly.
Luisa, thank you so much. It's really been a very enriching conversation. I hope a lot of people take away all the knowledge that you've shared today, not just to believe in themselves and to empower themselves and others, but also to believe that their vision for a social entrepreneurship, for the social economy, for that creates impact in their communities and beyond is possible. that there is opportunity in it, that there is
Yes.
profit as well as purpose.
Yes.
And they can
Yes.
come together to create those kind of partnerships.
Yes,
I
don't want anyone. Sorry, just to reinforce what you said. I took many golden nuggets. I'm going to listen to our podcast and take notes of the things you said. I don't want anyone that has an idea or a solution that can help others to give up on that idea because the person thinks I will never make money out of this, so I cannot make it happen. I do not want anyone to think of that. There's always a way to helping others into a solution that is financially sustainable, that can bring you. You may not get to buy a Lamborghini. Okay, I'm not promising Lamborghinis.
No, maybe a Bentley. Like, that's my dream car. Maybe a Bentley. I'll go for the Bentley.
But you will be happy, and you will. And I've had more money than I do at this moment because I'm launching a social initiative, and I've never been happier. So it's possible.
That's beautiful. Thank you for the work that you're doing and for the inspiration that you brought to us today.
Yeah.
And for everyone who's watching this, I really hope that, as Luisa was saying, don't get discouraged. You can do it. It's a matter of creativity. It's a matter of resilience. It's a matter of finding another way and finding those who believe in you to be able to support you in any way possible. So until then, remember that empowered you empowers others. I wish you love, abundance, and prosperity, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.